Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening wherever you are from. Welcome to Daily Insights. In today's episode, we explore what's going on with India's craft beer brewers. There's beer, and then there's craft beer. It's not like the mass-produced beers that you find on most store shelves, like Kingfisher or Budweiser. Craft beers are brewed in small batches. They're like limited edition items, and they often incorporate interesting flavors like mango or wheat. And the poster child of the Indian craft beer scene has been Bira 91. Launched in 2015, it quickly became a viral sensation. In its first year, it sold just 150,000 cases of beer. In the second year, they claimed to have sold 700,000 cases. The demand was unprecedented and their beer was almost always out of stock. On a side note, while researching for this topic, all reports say cases. Now cases usually pack 12 or 24 bottles, but none of the media reports really gave any clarification as to how many bottles were included in one case. So, keep that in mind. Bira 91 even got the venture capital firm, Sequoia Capital, to make an investment. A firm known for its tech bets was dipping its toes in unfamiliar territory, beer. Here's what Sequoia, now Peak 15 Partners, wrote in 2018 in a note about their Bira 91 investment. The success of microbreweries in Bangalore and Mumbai, which made and sold craft beer, were clear indications that consumers were loving the craft category. But the microbrewing business model is difficult to scale. Inkur, the founder of Bira 91, had a plan that could scale up rapidly. And maybe all this hype prompted others to follow suit. Everyone wanted to get into the craft beer business, and brands mushroomed left, right and center. Industry reports flooded in using the same peg, under-penetration. Reports back then pointed out that India's per capita beer consumption was just 4.6 liters, when compared to an Asian average of 57 liters. Everyone expected this to rise. But here's the deal. While some folks say that craft beer sales are growing by 20% annually, not everyone seems to think so. Others say that the packaged craft beer industry only sells a few million cases every year, and the market share continued to remain in the low single digits. Now we can't be sure what's the truth here, because we haven't seen comprehensive reports about the craft beer industry. But it does seem that brands are pulling back slowly. Live Mint says that brands like Whitlinger, White Owl, Katy Patang and White Rhino have either shut down or significantly scaled down their operations. So, the question is, how did the once vaunted craft beer industry lose its way? For starters, maybe people just overestimated the market for craft beer in the first place. Even after so many years, it still accounts for a measly 2 to 3% of overall beer sales. And maybe that's to do with the fact that most people in the country still prefer beers that are stronger in nature. Even Bira 91 realized that a few years ago and launched a stronger variant in the lineup. And not to forget that it's definitely a money guzzler. Setting up everything can set you back by approximately 70 crore rupees. Then you have to spend massive amounts on brand campaigns too. Since you can't directly advertise alcohol, you have to find other ways to get people's attention, maybe by sponsoring festivals and stuff. And it just doesn't seem to end. Take Bira for instance. The brewer has been around for almost a decade. And yet in FY22, while the revenues from operations grew by 1.7 times over the previous year, its expenses rose by a similar amount too. Then there's the headache of going pan-India, because taxes in India are a state affair. And it can vary tremendously across the length and breadth of the country. The red tape around licenses can be chaotic. On top of that, there's the matter of beer being taxed based on volume, not on alcohol content. So, a beer with 5% alcohol content is taxed at the same rate as Indian-made foreign liquor or IMFL, which contains over 40% alcohol. You can see why people prefer hard liquor then, don't you? So, beyond a point, it becomes a tough proposition for craft beer makers to really lower the price. And then came the pandemic and the subsequent liquor ban. Most craft brewers were small players trying to find their footing, and a couple of washout summers meant that it was game over for most of them. And those who survived are now battling high inflation, because as soon as the Russia-Ukraine conflict kicked off, prices of key materials like barley and glass jumped 30% to 45%. And apparently, liquor companies cannot easily hike prices because pricing is actually dependent on what the state prescribes. So yeah, put all these together and you'll see why a large section of the craft beer market is struggling. Maybe barring Bira 91, which continues to find backing from foreign investors. But wait, maybe there's still some light at the end of this tunnel. Because we've just talked about packaged craft beers so far, it seems that microbreweries, the OG of pouring fresh craft beer from the tap, are still gaining popularity. And while Sequoia might have not seen microbreweries as a scalable investment, we're seeing more of these local pubs brewing in-house craft beers. So maybe being and staying local is the advantage everyone wants today. And we'll have to see who emerges on top over the next few years. Until then, have a nice day. If you liked this episode, then give a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to see more such insights. Thank you very much for tuning in.